Welcome to Beyond Transcendence with Andrew. I'm your host, Andrew Wilson. On today's show, I have Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sion is a captivating multidisciplinary expert who seamlessly blends naturopathic medicine, spirituality, and quantum science to empower individuals on their journey to wholeness. As the founder of True TV and author of 5 groundbreaking books, including her international best-selling book, The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love, Dr. Sharnael offers a unique perspective on achieving optimal health and unlocking human potential. Her global influence spans over 51 countries, where she shares her transformative insights through speaking engagements, online classes, and social media platforms. She also has over 15,000 clients online, remote with her technology, with long-distance biofeedback. Please welcome Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sion. Welcome to my show, Dr. Sharnael.
How you doing? Besides cold.
So tell me, what brought you to spirituality?
Oh gosh. I've always been intrigued with spirituality in general. I I don't consider myself religious. I didn't grow up in a religious home by any means. Not that that's bad if that's people's path, everyone does what they do. I guess when I was about 13, someone gave me a Bible and I had a little bit of a, let me backtrack. I had like this weird encounter. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I was actually in Montana. We were talking off camera in Montana at my grandmother's house. My dad would go out of town quite often because he was military, and when he would have to go for a long period of time, we would just go back and live with my grandmother and my grandfather. But Easter Sunday, I had this kind of holographic man show up in my bedroom, which was, you would think, very disturbing, but it was quite the opposite. Like I was very intrigued by it, and I felt very emotional, and like it hit my heart, and was crying, and just felt so much love and so much gratitude, and there's just a lot of feelings. And I did not know until I think second grade, or you guys would say grade two, that he was Jesus, this guy, because one of my teachers had like a statue of him. It wasn't like the cross or anything like that. It was just a bust, like from his chest or his rib cage up, of him just sitting, kind of like looking down or something. And I was like, who's that? Because he kind of looked familiar in the weirdest way. It just seemed, anyway. So that struck a chord, once I knew who she said he was, anyway. Obviously, a lot of people think he's a lot of different things. I've come to find out there's a lot of that's up in the air to millions and trillions of people, right? But anyway, fast forward, when I moved to Louisiana, I was given a Bible, and lo and behold, this is who they're talking about in a lot of places, in between all the other stuff. And I got super intrigued with the supernatural aspects of what he did and what other people were doing. And I kind of got like just curious, even more curious about like how are people doing this and why aren't they doing it now? And I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't hear a whole lot about people bilocating and causing water to turn into wine. And it seems like this should be normal. And I guess I just started this path of trying to find people who were doing things like that and looking up and trying to, get educated and find out if there was any sort of pattern or equation amongst those people. Because it's like, why are some people doing it, some people aren't? Like, is there something they're eating or drinking, or are they meditating, or are they fasting, So it's a combination of all those things, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of how I got involved. How did you get involved? I'm curious.
I lost my mother. She passed away in 2021, and I was in a relationship, and I was working for a very toxic company, and it was the shift of meeting this lady who told me about Dolores Cannon, and then when I got introduced to Dolores Cannon, uh, it just kind of started to make sense. And then I was meditating, doing a chant meditation by Sadhguru, and I was able to visit my mother on the spiritual realm, and I
Oh,
got to hug her and see her, the energy that she was, like this glowing purple energy, and she was happy, and it was in like a tropical scenery because before she died, she told me she wasn't going to give me my inheritance. She's like, I'm moving to Mexico. And I said, that's great, Mom. I think that's wonderful. And then a week later, she died. So that was the last time I got to speak to her. But she told me she was proud of me. And so what I'm doing is I took her inheritance and I started this podcast. And then I also went and took the training that Dolores taught, and a level two, and I'm just learning day by day about how like spiritual and meditation, even like meditation, I keep having like out of body experiences too, so that's pretty phenomenal, and it's helped me rebuild my confidence and change my overall outlook on life. And I'm getting married in April, and
congratulations.
thank you so much.
A
Just a
lot of
lot of
change.
moving. Yeah, a lot of change, a lot of change. Like I gave up smoking marijuana, I gave up drinking, smoking cigarettes. I don't drink coffee anymore. I intermittent fast. I just look after my body, and I coach, try to coach people who like had addiction problems or would struggle with trauma. And then I do the QHHT as well. And then I do the podcast.
That's so cool. I'm curious. I know you're interviewing me, but the coffee thing, did you see a big difference once you stop doing the coffee? I mean, obviously the other stuff that you mentioned, I think there'd be a pretty significant, but I haven't quit coffee yet. I'm wondering like what changes do you feel with that?
Like I was still drinking like caffeine, like I was still introducing it with through tea, so I didn't get any headaches or side effects. But I just gradually switched from tea to tea. It was actually my fiance who introduced me to David's tea, and she then I just got hooked after that, and then I just drank it after every meal. And then once I started doing that, then my body got used to it, and then I started drinking this thing called dandelion coffee.
Oh, yes, the
Yeah,
the blend,
yeah, yeah.
yes, I love that stuff.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I was able to kick it. And then I just haven't drank any since then. I think I drank one coffee and I was like all jittery, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me. So yeah, and I go to the gym, so I don't really need caffeine. So
Did
that's
you
my
feel like more clear, or any kind of significant changes?
kind of, yeah. Like my I wasn't so jittery, and I found like coffee gave me anxiety because I'm an empath, so I feel everything. So I that's what got me off marijuana too, and alcohol. It's like it just made me anxious all the time, and that was the biggest struggle I had too, like going out in public. I would always have a headache. But since I started like just practicing more meditation, and I'd read a lot of Neville Goddard, and I started reading Eckhart Tolle,
He's
and
my man. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well,
those guys.
my life coach built a program around him. So
Who's your coach?
his name's David O'Locker. His grandfather's name was Elmer O'Locker Jr.
Okay.
He was in
Neville.
jail for like 8 years, and he got out of jail, and he just rebuilt himself, and now he's like a successful businessman. He has like three businesses, and he started a community on school called This World is a Simulation. So a friend of mine who I interviewed on my podcast, how funny how synchronicities work, told me about this. So I reached out, and then I just decided to hire the guy one on one, and he gives me like tips and everything. So I learned the art of visualization. So every time, like before I do a podcast, I visualize myself, the podcast already being done, everyone's happy, cheerful. So now I do that whenever I go out in public too. I visualize that no one is having a negative day and everyone is just in a wonderful mood, and that's all I see.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love um I love both of those guys actually. I've never tested Neville, but the book, The New Earth, what's the other one about now?
Power of now.
They
Yeah.
test really high on scalar waves, and he actually tests like his bio. So we all have a biofield that's 4 to 5 feet, right? His tested like 20 feet. Like he has
Holy.
such a presence.
Wow.
But Neville would be someone good to test, actually. That would be, I'm obsessed with him. I'm actually doing a class on visualization. I've taught several, and I have one on the 19th. I think it's the 19th that we're doing. To just kind of set the pace for the 2025 year, and visualize like what we choose, and instead of that default imagination kind of get whatever's stuck in the programming, like be really on purpose and architect and design what the year, what you choose for the year. But I love outcome mapping too. Like I literally just draw hard and then it's like, now that this has happened, what's new and different for you? And, we just go through all the stuff. But I haven't thought about doing it like before each podcast or before I go outside. I mean, sometimes I do it in the morning or like before I go to bed. My mentor was Robert Tennyson Stevens. I don't know if you know who that is, but he would talk about how Neville talked about the shears of revision. Have you read that part yet?
Not yet. No, I'm huge on the power awareness. I read it every day when I'm at the gym. I just plug my earbuds in, and it's kind of crazy because I like got into that zone of consciousness. And you know how you visualize something that you've already completed? Well, I visualized me completed the walk, and my legs just took over. And the thing that stopped me was my fiance texted me to let me know we were ready to go because I was ahead of her, and it was like a light switched off, and I was like, "Whoa,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, no, they've done a lot of studies where people will literally go work out at the gym. Let's say they got to do XYZ reps with this weight, la la la. They do it however many times a day. And then other people just sit in bed and visualize it. And the muscle mass is the same,
that's cool."
right? So
Yeah,
skip the gym. No, just kidding. I love the gym, and the gym's great. But I'm just saying, isn't that cool? I don't know how it does on chemistry. Obviously, when you go to the gym, you got all the serotonin, the endorphins, and all of that. So I don't know if it equates, sitting in bed or on your couch, kumbaya and trying to, get there. But I thought it was interesting they could build muscle mass with your imagination. What? That's how powerful we are. That is insane.
absolutely. I love
We
it.
have this amazing technology. And yeah, I love the word imagination, to image a nation, and that we're just Imagineers creating constantly. The problem is if you're not aware, you're actually still creating. And it's like, what are you creating? Usually something that maybe is in your subconscious that you don't even know is kind of running in the background, and or it could be some ancestral stuff, maybe grandma lost her business and had bad partnership or whatever, and then now like somehow you saw that in your environment and then you're like fearful of it and you don't even know that that's in there, and it starts messing with the equations and the expectation. So it takes a lot of what I call positive brainwashing, and just being repetitive. I'm like you too, where like that book and Neville, I mean, almost every book that he has, or if you just go on YouTube, I'll play Neville like if I'm cleaning the house or, before I go to bed and, just because there's so much during the day that I don't even know what's accidentally getting in. That I'm like, oh, let's override that. Let's make sure nothing's seeped in by accident that isn't gonna, create something more powerful and beautiful, and make sure that I'm staying in the positive, and but I'm gonna have to start incorporating a little more extra. But the revision stuff that he talked about, sorry, I kind of skipped around.
Well, good.
He said he would go and like shear away or cut away or revise or reverse the day. So if something happened that you did not like during the day and is even over already, he would always do like a debrief at night with himself, and he would go and cut things out or change it up the outcome of anything that he didn't like the way it ended. And somehow that was actually having some sort of butterfly effect for the next day a lot of times. Not every time, but let's say there was a fight with your spouse, or God forbid something terrible, or maybe a job loss or something, and he would revise it that he got this promotion, or um that before the argument happened that there was more communication and whatever, and he found like the next day that people who practiced this would all of a sudden have like a job opportunity that was a promotion, or there wasn't such a charge with the spouse the next morning because it kind of worked itself out, and then it was almost like it didn't happen, which sometimes you're in a relationship, you're about to get married, things can happen sometimes, and it's like, when a charge happens, there's a physical electronic, thing where you're like, "Urgh," and so I thought that was kind of cool, and I don't always incorporate it. I think it's better probably to do it in the morning and like create before instead of trying to fix it after. Just like healthcare, it's like, why don't you be preventative now instead of wait till you're really sick and then have to deal with it? But it doesn't always happen.
That's true. So what exactly are you a doctor of? Like what's
I'm a
your
naturopath.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so everything natural. I'm not anti-Western by any means. I'm very thankful for surgeons and for people who can do like things that are absolutely necessary. But when things do happen, I definitely want to look to see what the root cause is, first of all, and not just try to band-aid everything. But also, let's look at all the things that we can do to maybe, work this out. I like the lavender lightning approach, which is something I actually got in a dream. But lavender meaning, the natural things, nature, herbs, teas, actually physically going out into nature because there's a lot of code in nature as far as like the ocean or the lake or water or even standing in the rain, going out into the forest and do some forest bathing, all those kind of things. Just getting grounded, take your shoes off, get in the sand. Not in 1 degree weather, that's for sure. But maybe, I don't know, maybe that's your thing. So that's the lavender as well as anything natural, essential oils maybe, or you fill in the blank, the dandelion tea or the dandelion blend. And then the lightning approach for me is some of the more like fun Tesla technology kind of stuff. I have ozone therapy in my practice and I love that. Red light therapy, infrared sauna, just to like detox and make sure that you're staying on top of things because chemtrails and water and all the stuff in the food, and you can eat really well as much as possible, but there's still stuff, right? But we have hyperbaric chamber, we have biofeedback. That's probably my favorite one just because that can also be done long distance. So I've worked on people all over the world, even in Canada, that way over here, and I'm working on you. And just like you guys do your stuff, everything, there is no time or space. And it's sometimes people get like, how do you do that? But it really, 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 really works, honestly. But I have like PEMF, I have a biomat, we have foot detox, we have other people in our office that do raindrop therapy. We do have a QHHT lady in our office, interestingly enough, and an emotional release lady too. So actually, we have two raindrop people. So yeah, we have fun doing our little thing up there and seeing people and trying to help people get like the entire situation clear and aligned. So it's like mind, body, spirit, that word integrated. Also, integrity comes from integrated. So choices that we make, as long as we're living true, doing the thing that we need to do, following that inner GPS. And obviously, I could have 10 people in a room and all of them have a different GPS. We can kind of do the same things and we can all be friends, but maybe I'm not supposed to get a tattoo and someone is, or I'm not supposed to get this job and someone is, or obviously not be married to the same person or whatever. So, we all have our own path, and I celebrate everybody's path and what they're doing. But to me, naturopathic is the natural path, literally, of just doing everything possible to keep straight and be preventative and take care of things. I mostly work with a lot of people who have like the mystery illnesses that doctors can't figure out, and they've been to hundreds of doctors and they're on all kinds of meds, and then they finally give up and come to me, and then they're like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "Okay, let's figure this out." You know.
So so what's your overall goal? Do you have like an overall goal? Do you want to do something different? Like what is your plan?
Gosh, what is my plan? No, I mean, I just continue to see people. Um, I'd always love to expand as far as awareness of where I could be or what I could be doing. I've done conference speaking for God, since the late 90s. I've written 5 books. I constantly do online workshops. I do in-person workshops and conferences. I'm actually going to be at Conscious Life Expo in LA in less than a month if everything is still okay. I don't know with all the fires and everything That's supposed to be a big, huge deal. They usually have like 8,000 people show up for that. And watching the news and stuff is, I try not to watch the news, but I am watching the last little bit here of what's going on over there. So prayers and love to everyone in LA and that whole area. But yeah, I do one-on-one consultations over the phone constantly. I see several patients a week and then I see people in person. As far as the future, I think I'll probably have a few more books in me. I have the topics anyway. I just haven't sat down and like written it out or typed it up. Yeah, I don't know. More collaborations. I love online stuff with meeting new people and that kind of stuff. I love traveling. I've been to 51 countries so far, and I'm going to Bali and Sri Lanka this year for a week each to do some research and look at some things over there. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
goals, I don't know. Fun. Fun's on my goal. Big capital letters. Fun, fun, ease, harmony.
Nice. And your podcast, what do you cover on your podcast?
Yeah, so our podcast is every Thursday at noon. We like talking about a lot of weird stuff similar to you. We've had people on about UFOs and cosmic things, Bigfoot. We have had a couple QHHT people, which may be why we didn't go that direction, but we could have you for something else. A lot of spirituality topics, a lot of health topics. I'm trying to think. We've had a lot of authors, books. The guy who wrote Celestian, what is that? James Redfield. He was on there a couple times, and Laura Eisenhower's pretty regular. She's one of my best friends. Sometimes we just get on and talk about like whatever's happening now and just try to like unpack, how everyone's feeling or what they think. I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but a lot of it's the truth, to be honest. And, a lot of people aren't aware of some of the things really going on, especially having to do with like healthcare stuff and the fog going out there and maybe even these fires. I honestly don't even think these fires are man-made, in my opinion. But yeah, every Thursday at noon, and we've had directors, actors. Sean Stone has been on a few times. Some of the stuff that I've had actually got my channel taken down in April, so all my work was gone and vanished. That was sucky, but whatever. We started over, and here we are again, and just doing the thing. I'm not giving up. We're still, at least they let me back on again. I think they made me take a little recess, but they do that on my Facebook too, and I'm on all the social medias, but like right now to this day, I cannot go in groups and comment. They're like, you're restricted, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, here we go again. Even though, what's his name, Zuckerberg came out and he was like, oh, everything's different. We're not going to fact check. And I'm like, okay, how come I can't comment right now? When does that happen?
Yeah, that's
Have you
tough.
had problems with that?
No, I haven't had any problems with that, but I kind of like steer clear of social media. I promote like I do a QHHT men's group because I'm trying to get more men to come see me because I find a lot of women come to see me, but there's also a lot of women that don't feel comfortable seeing a man for some reason. I don't know if that has to do with trauma, but I'm trying to get more men to come because a lot more men are struggling with mental health, and I don't believe that they're like getting open with it. I think they're just bottling down their feelings. And that's what I did for several years because I was told I wasn't going to amount to anything. I was beat up every day. I was bullied by my teachers. So I like didn't have that whole like good lifestyle. I didn't know like really where I was going in life, and like
Wow,
I had door after door shut on me. I tried to go to schools and they'd be like, "No, you're wasting your time. Don't bother."
that's so mean.
Yeah, so then I moved out to originally I'm from Prince Edward Island. So I moved out to BC, and that's when I got into the oil and gas sector. And that was when I learned how to actually like be an adult because I didn't really grow up, and I still kind of didn't grow up until like basically until I found spirituality because I had so much trauma, and relationships were like toxic, my work environments were toxic. So I couldn't really grow, and then I would bring that home and I would bring that to like the job site, and then just losing my mother was kind of a blessing because it taught me a lot to understand like And now I just try to do whatever I can for people, and I try to serve a purpose. Whether I post content every day, like just the experiences I have, because I struggle with confidence on a great deal, like being on camera. I hate being on camera because I made the mistake one time of dancing in front of my school. So they mocked me and wrote it in the yearbook. And then I didn't get over it because of that. So, like, I had a lot of trauma and it just kind of ate away at me. And then I found out when I was doing a past life regression that my past life, I was a German soldier and I executed people at Auschwitz.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I brought that with me to this life.
Wow. Well, you have overcome quite a bit. I mean, I've just talked to you 2 seconds and I'm like, wow, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot to overcome. And, it's so crazy how some people can go through like maybe even two of the things that you went through and like just completely can't handle anything. Like just go off in addictions or suicide or, like can't get a job. You know what I'm saying? And then other people like you just like phoenix right up the ladder and like create your own path and your own life and then help all these other people. Like I wonder what it is that makes that, how can some people do it and some people don't? Like have you figured that out? Have you ever thought about it?
No, I've never really thought about it by myself. It took me a long time to like understand it. Like I had people tell me over and over again, and my fiance would always tell me, if you talk to yourself like you or you talk to your friends like you talk to yourself, you'd have no friends. Because I
Mm,
was at that point where I just failure was it, and then like arguments were like so easy, and I was triggered by words, I was triggered by this, and it just took meditation and time. But you've got to get people to, accept spirituality, and that's the hard thing, is people don't accept spirituality. One, because it's a fad, and two, it's like there's a lot of people that are doing it improperly, so they're teaching improper things to people, and then people are thinking it's like hoo, it's like new age, and I don't want to hear that. And it's like, okay, well, you don't want to hear it. That's your choice. And I think that's why people can't get to this level, is because one, they don't want to, and two, they're trapped inside their own minds. And that's the one thing I learned reading The Power of the Now, is like what happened to him. He was about to commit suicide and he had to pass out and to understand the presence of now for it to like resonate. But I've got friends who like now distance themselves because I'm spiritual, and they don't.
really?
Yeah, they're, yeah,
So
yeah,
they just think you went off the deep end or something?
yeah,
Well, you know what? You're meeting new people and new friends, and it's interesting that you have the Let Them sweatshirt on.
yeah. I made this myself. Yeah,
Did you?
yeah,
Yeah, for me, I don't know who came up with that or whatever. I saw a meme about it or, some graphic or something. And for my New Year's resolution, I didn't call it Let Them. I guess I'm in a place of what I would call acceptance or surrender for this year. I've just had a bunch of stuff going on and different people and kind of sit conflict with some things. And I've like fought for it or tried to explain better or, I didn't want to lose anything or anybody. So I would like chase or try to accommodate or, just do everything in my willpower to keep the relationship or the situation or whatever it is to the point of like giving up my own self, like my own self, of just like compromising my own, whatever. And then basically that felt like it took my energy, kind of, and just so when I saw that, let them, I think there was like a poem or something. It's like, if they don't like you, let them. If they want to leave you, let them. All right. You probably know, but I don't know who orchestrated it, but we did this ceremony. We got together with Laura and I were in St. Petersburg, Florida, with my co-host who came in from England, and Alex Bloom and some other people. There's just a bunch of people that I had never met before. We're all there, but I normally do this ceremony where I have this like brass genie's bottle, like a genie, like it's not a bottle. What is a lamp?
lamp. Yeah,
And I choose to remember where I found it or where I got it, but I got it like 20 years ago or something. And for me, what I started doing every New Year's is I would write down all the things that no longer serve me, and then I would put it in the lantern, and then I would light a match to it so it would like die in the lantern, like it would just burn up as ashes. Well, since we were out of town, I was like, okay, I still want to do this. I don't have my genie lantern, my lamp, but someone else mentioned, hey, you want to do like a some sort of ceremony, to say out with the old, and he had the same sort of concept. So obviously I didn't make it up, minus the genie lamp. But it was so powerful, and I was like racking my brain, going like, what do I want? Just like when you asked me, I'm like, I got to get specific, that's the best way to do it. And you're right. I felt kind of, this is teaching me that I need to kind of literally go down and write some things for this year myself. But acceptance and surrender just kept coming back to me. And in my past, my ancestral lineage is Vikings. So giving up is like, you don't do that. You're loyal to the end. You just don't give up. You fight. And so I always looked at surrender and acceptance as like bad because you're like a loser and you like give up too easy and you're not strong enough or something. But I'm really in the last, especially the last 4 weeks, kind of just at that point of like flow, and it's like okay. And then I kept seeing that let them, and then I'm seeing it again, and I'm just like, you know what, let them. It's cool. I'm fine. I'm over here. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna do my thing. Self-care. Put myself first. I know it sounds super selfish, right? At least in my mind, that maybe that was a program of like putting yourself first. That seems so selfish. But as soon as we left that ceremony, I went to go see my former mother-in-law, the mom of my kids. She's now 70 something, and she's actually a Newfoundland. She's from Newfoundland, so my kids are half Newfie. But she came down to St. Petersburg and was staying there for a month. And we went to go visit her, and we just started talking. And I was telling her some of the things that were going on. And literally, she's so wise. She was literally like, you know what, Charnel? You just got to live your life. You can't worry about all these things. You can't worry about blah, 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 blah. I don't want to expose the stuff, but she's like, she was talking about how she lived her life for her husband, for her parents when she was little, and then her husband when she got married out of 17, and then she had kids and she did everything for them, on and on and on, and how like it hasn't served her really, and it hasn't taught her kids anything, and her kids aren't even speaking to her, and just all this stuff. She's just like, I'm just gonna do me, and if people want to come, great, and if they don't, and then she's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh. I literally just had this conversation with myself last night, and now she's telling me again. So obviously it was in the field for her to pick it up, intuitively and just energetically. And like, I basically used her to tell me what I needed to hear again, and now I'm doing it again with the let them, and I'm like, it's funny how we have those synchronicities, but everything radiates in the field, and then we get that magnet back. So it's super important that we're thinking properly, not properly, but because there's no right and wrong, but to be in alignment with what we choose, and to really make sure that we're like hyper focused on what we choose. And when I get off this interview, I'm literally going to go sit down and start writing, what do I choose for this year for myself before I even teach this class. I was going to wait till the class because we were going to do it on Sunday, but I'm thinking I got to do it sooner now. But yeah,
Cool.
cool.
Yeah, I like that. So, what advice can you offer my listeners tuning into the show?
I guess that's a biggie. And just, saddle up and journal. Do you journal?
Oh, I love journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a solo retreat just recently, and that's when I got into journaling. I took
Wait, you
3
did a
days
what retreat?
solo retreat.
What does that mean?
Okay, so when I first started the podcast, there was a fella there, him and his partner. His partner was having really tough times because he had a fire and he lost his parents. So he went out in the bush for 4 days and they were worried about him, but he came back a totally different person. So then they started a men's coaching program. And he was on my show and he reached out. He asked me if I was interested. So I did it. I went to a cabin out in the woods. I tried snowshoeing for the first time. I retaught myself how to split wood. I was setting a fire. No technology, just alone with your thoughts. And they give you a box that's filled with books for exercises. They give you the book Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. They give you an old school camera so you can take pictures, like the old school Polaroid camera.
Ryan Holiday. Hold on, I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
Stillness what?
Stillness is the key.
All right. So Polaroid camera, books. What else?
A journal, coffee mug filled with like teas, like yogi teas, and what else was in there? MP3 player because you can't have your phone on.
Wow, no phones. So you can listen to music or teachings.
No, they
Was there?
have it all. They recorded it all on the MP3 player.
Okay.
So you have like a guided meditation, and then they have the morning note, and then the evening note, and then they have the morning meditation and the evening meditation. But after that, you're just alone with your thoughts and you're journaling. I did 69 pages the 3 days I was there, and I cover a lot. And even because I'm writing a book right now as
I
well,
was
it's
just gonna
called,
say, you might as
yeah,
well put it in a book.
yeah, I'm writing a book as well. It's called The Enemy Within, known as Fear, because I struggled with fear my entire life. So I'm on my 13th chapter right now, and I'm hoping to have it published sometime this year.
That's so cool. Well, you're definitely gonna have to come on the show and talk about your book. That's what we could
Definitely.
do.
I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Awesome. Yeah, my best friend, her birthday is coming up, and before I went to New Year's, she texted me and she's like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know, I'm gonna be out for a little bit. I'm doing a silent retreat for 2 weeks, and so if I'm not answering you, it's because I don't have my phone." And I was like, "A silent retreat? I've heard people who did that, but I've never done it before." I mean, I kind of have my own silence over here because my husband's out of town quite often, and my kids are out of town quite often, and it's just me, my thoughts, and my animals. But the technology piece, I definitely have the technology, even when I'm with my thoughts. But I usually don't like listen to music, when I'm doing stuff. I'll put on like a like a Neville thing, or a book that I'm reading, or audio book that I'm listening to, or something, just to kind of whatever. But yeah, maybe I'll have to try the whole no technology thing for a week. Or you did 4 days, you said?
3 days.
Did you feel like you were gonna lose it?
No, no, actually, because before, like, I grew up in the modern age before technology was kind of a thing, right? So I kind of have that still childish in me where I can still like imagine because I have a very vivid imagination. So I don't really need technology. Like I stopped watching TV even. Like I just kind of read books now, and I try to find something because what is it Neville says? You must stop spending your thoughts, your time, and your money. So I'm taking that and I'm putting everything. That's why I got a life coach. That's why I'm like doing the steps. Like he got me to write down 55 desires. So I had to write 55 desires that I had. I also do this thing, it's called a leaf exercise every morning where you visualize you're sitting in a tall grass in a lotus position and you got a pond in front of you and you got trees and you see the tree with the leaf drifting out and you got to see it swaying from side to side and then eventually after the 10th sway it taps the water creates a small ripple and then you start over again. So far I've got to 30. And then that's how my I came out of my body and I was looking down at my body is because I was so like just still and relaxed. And then I
Wow.
do the reverse exercise as well that Neville teaches us where I replay my days and then I go into flow state and I start visualizing and imagining what I want.
Well, the one with the palm and all that, was that Neville too, or is that somebody else?
That's I believe that's Neville. I'm not sure. My coach taught it to me.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that one. That's interesting. Interesting. Very cool. You do a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, for me, I when I grew up in Montana, we were on a cattle ranch and a farm, and the closest house to us was just miles away. And I don't mean like there's no subdivisions, there's no gas stations. Like the closest city to me only had one stop sign, and if you want to call it a city, a town, is basically two streets that only had like maybe two bars, a grocery store, and a town hall. Like, I mean, in a school. Like, there was nothing. I had like four students in my fourth grade class, and it was at somebody's house. So when I grew up, I pretty much would just go to the barn. That was my thing to do. I didn't have anyone to play with. I didn't have anyone to go over to the house. No one could come over to me and when I say there was nothing in between, I mean, I'm talking about plains. You could just drive for like 40 minutes, 30 minutes and never see a building, never see maybe even a tree. It was just flat land with, good thing you would have gas, because if you ran out of gas, you're just stuck in the middle of nowhere. But I was like that too, where I had a lot of time just to play with spiders and catch butterflies and hang out and tame kittens and feed the cows and feed the ducks and garden and look at the stars. And that is a lost art, I think, now that there is so much technology. People literally, like 5 years old, I see kids, with their iPads and their cell phones, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 30 years old. Literally. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, it's the fear aspect, right? Parents worried about their kids, so that it's how they track their kids. So the kids go missing because all these child molesters and all this going on. It's all that fear, and that's like we all created that fear. It's like I read this book called Messages in the Water. I think his last name is Emoto.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah, and he like talks about how like they're standing around like a pond and 32 of them are praying, and that one prayer just spreads around the world. And it's like everything that's going on in the world is spreading and it's festering and it's in all of us and we don't even know it. But it's when you find spirituality that I've noticed that all of that energy just simply goes away if you train it to. But you have to work at it. And that's what I learned. That's why I have such a and I thank my old German self because it brought me my militant mindset. Because
Have you
without my
looked into
German
it?
self, pardon me,
Oh, I'm sorry, keep going.
without my militant self, I wouldn't have been able to train this mindset like I have now.
Have you looked into Ho'oponopono?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. So there's this guy who is a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I choose to remember, but he was tasked to go into these criminal prisons, top security, like the worst guys ever, like that they've done the worst things. And basically he would just have he wouldn't even tell them to do anything, and he wouldn't do counseling, like sit there like the average, talk therapy kind of stuff. But he would just sit with them and in his mind say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. He called it washing, and he would just sit with them. And he was working in mental units too. Also prisons, mental hospitals, like whatever. And, I worked at a psych unit. Trust me, when it was time to go see a doctor, they had to go to group therapy. They had to go whatever. They had to talk, 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 write, take notes, lots of pills involved, blah, blah, blah. All this guy did was, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And the people started changing, and the people were able to get off their meds. They actually closed down a prison. They closed down, I think, two psych wards because there wasn't anybody left. And he teaches this quite often. He's got a couple books out too. If you like Emoto, it's interesting. He died on Valentine's Day,
No way.
2014, I think. I don't know. He died the same day that my mentor passed. And so I remember it as being the 14th. I thought how significant that they would die on the most, celebrated loving day ever. But I think the guy from Ho'oponopono is still alive. And I want to say he's somewhere in Hawaii or somewhere. I think that's where he's from originally. But his stuff, man, if you could find it on YouTube and his books and stuff, it's like just listening to him talk and everything and the way he explains stuff, it's like it's more like entrainment and just, kind of getting into that and practice, when everything's not going great, use the imagination, but also I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. And he says that when people would come to him with a problem, he was like, are you doing the washing? Are you doing the washing? Meaning, I love you, I'm sorry. I pictured the Karate Kid, wash on,
Yeah,
wash off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, check that out.
I
That's
will
really
for
cool.
sure. Thank you. Well, this has been a lovely conversation, Dr. Sharnael, and I'm so glad to have met you, and I wish you but nothing but continued success, limited
Yeah,
possibilities, and much love to you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this enlightening episode of Beyond Transcendence with Andrew. Dr. Sharnael's journey into spirituality alongside my personal transformation provides profound insights into the power of healing and meditation and self-discovery. Our shared experiences highlighted the importance of embracing our individual paths and the significance of holistic practice in nurturing the mind, body, and spirit. May our stories inspire you to explore your own spiritual journey, surrender to the process, and live authentically. Until next time, continue healing, continue growing, and embrace the power of transformation. Much love to you all. Bye.